Hi, my name is Kang, and I'll be presenting our paper titled From Who You Know to What You Read, Augmenting Scientific Recommendations with Implicit Social Networks. Finding and engaging with the relevant scientific knowledge is foundational for intellectual progress in a society. Yet, with an exponential growth in publication rates, this becomes an impossible task to do well. With a deluge of research papers, it is often easy to feel overwhelmed and lost, or develop a myopia when engaging with the diverse body of knowledge. The approaches scientists currently adopt to mitigate this problem can be put into two main categories. The first is by way of citation chaining. In this category, scientists start from a source paper they read and identify an interesting citation context within it. In the example on the left, the highlighted text indicates an interesting citation context and two references 16 and 102, which are then used for subsequent exploration. For social network-based approaches, one common way is using social media platforms such as Twitter to find publicly recommended papers from people you trust. But both of these approaches involve jumping between different places to collect relevant information and is largely relied upon chance discovery. In contrast, personalized email alerts aim to deliver machine-generated relevant paper recommendations based on your previous feedback. This has the potential to reduce the reliance on chance discovery, but the challenge with respect to engaging with the long, monotonous list of recommended papers still remains. So in this paper, we explore the question of how might we augment scientific recommendations to more effectively guide scientists to relevant articles. Previously, there have been several graph-based approaches proposed to improve recommender systems and the interpretability of their recommendations in different application domains. But what we don't know from this literature is how we might develop graph-based approaches in the scientific recommendations domain. Especially, it's unclear how social relevance-driven approaches may be developed here when there's no explicit social network of scientists exist. Additionally, we'd like to find out which type of relevance messages are impactful and what are the generalizable implications for future designs. To examine this, we developed two types of relevance messages through an iterative design process to augment personalized alert emails. These alerts contain newly published paper recommendations which lack useful metadata for relevance judgment. Our messages augment these papers using either citation information or author-user relations inferred from the citation graph. This way, relevance information based on what user previously liked or found relevant can be propagated to the new papers. Using these messages, we designed and ran two studies. In study one, we randomly assigned over 7,000 users to one of the three conditions and collected their engagement data with email alerts. Our main measures of engagement included the email click-through rates and open rates. We found that both citation and direct author-based relevance messages increased user engagement significantly, but only direct author-based relevance messages increased the email open rates in aggregate, as well as using the difference in differences method to account for the effective from habitual opening of emails over time. The results suggested that users found emails with direct author relevance messages more useful and remained more engaged over time. We also saw that the author-based relevance messages were effective in spite of their low coverage compared to citation-based messages. Additionally, we also examined the implications for system-wide fairness of visibility, and we found no evidence that the messages biased consumption towards papers written by highly cited authors. Using generalized linear mixed models, we see the ceiling of the engagement boosted from direct author-based relevance messages is higher than that of citation-based messages and was expected to be achieved at around 50% coverage. In addition, for the same level of estimated CTR, direct author-based messages seem to require a smaller percentage of messages. To summarize, direct author-based relevance messages worked the best without biasing the consumption towards papers written by highly cited authors, but its full potential is unlikely reached due to the low coverage. Therefore, we expanded the author relevance relations to introduce indirect author-based relevance messages, in which we first look for an intermediate author that the user is likely familiar with and would be interested in seeing things that the intermediate author finds useful or recommends. We evaluated indirect author-based messages in study 2 with 14 participants. And the results show that the indirect author-based relevance messages significantly increased the percentage of featured recommendations to around 50% compared to direct author-based relevance messages. And they behaved as planned by featuring novel connections to unknown authors mediated by the familiar intermediate authors. We also uncovered qualitative insights. First, there were 6 different types of benefits that different types of messages brought about, such as the social, the discovery of community-related insights, and the mobilizing mental models, etc. One interesting insight into the benefit of these messages had to do with the notion of the mental model of a scientist. And such mental models were perceived as useful for mapping out how ideas diffuse or who's building off of the old but important work in the field. Another kind of benefits were related to serendipitous author discovery. Here, P10 found an interesting author from the message whose author details page listed publications that he found interesting to read more about. There were also 4 types of different challenges. One of the insights here was that scientists' research interests evolved over time, and therefore surfacing relevance to pioneering but universal-cited body of work, or old research interests may not be always useful or relevant. Another insight was that there was tension between seeking more context about the relevance surfaced in the augmentative messages, but at the same time, this was in direct conflict with the desire for scanning the recommendations efficiently. Based on these insights, we synthesized 3 implications for feature designs aimed at augmenting scientific recommendations, including goal-centric interpretability, task-centric configurations, and dynamic scientist identities. For more details, please use the QR code on the screen to access the full manuscript. Thank you for listening.